link on the calendar invite that was sent to me, I assumed that was the Google spot. So I was in a different hangout room.
Two of us don't need to be here. If you're here, I don't need to be here.
Why?
Okay,
No,
I canceled my other interview because I thought that I had to be here. So
it's okay. Okay. So I'm gonna drop off, and Nick's gonna take over actually.
All right, sounds good.
We already started. Right. We already started. Well, we are live now. I'll represent.
Okay, awesome. I love your guys' shirts, by the way. Does that say
Harmony in Russian?
It's harmony in Russian.
Awesome. We gotta get you guys some shirts.
Yeah,
proper shirts.
We will send you. We will send you two of them.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'll represent you to our audience in Russian, and then get back to you. Okay. Так, ребят, всем привет. У нас сегодня Гармони в эфире. Ник Уайт, кофаундер проекта. Был еще, вы увидели, там был Гарлом, Семьё, начальник отдела маркетинга, как он говорит. Вот. И у нас сегодня будет такой очень интересный экспериментальный стрим. Вот, я вам немножко расскажу, как это будет происходить. Мы будем задавать вопросы Нику на английском, ответы будем переводить на русский. В таком формате мы проводим стрим в первый раз, поэтому заранее сори за тупники. Вот, задавайте все свои вопросы в чатик. Мы постараемся их всех озвучить, эти вопросики. Самый интересный вопрос сегодня на стриме получит от нас одну BNBшку, а от Гармони получит одну футболку. Но только не такую, а фирменную. Вот. И,
если захотите, можно и такую.
Да, можно и такую. И в конце эфира будет еще один вопросик, ответив на который в комментах еще 3 человека получат по одной BNBшке и по одной футболке. Итак, погнали, пишите вопросы в чатик, лайкайте наш стримчик, и заранее сори за тупники, будет весело. Well, Nick, so it's our first time English-Russian on a stream, so we can make mistakes sometimes or all the time. Sorry in advance. We have a lot of questions, but we want to start from some kind of a pitch from you. Can you, in a few words, explain what is Harmony for? I mean, for common people, like we are common people, because 90% of users are interested only in profits on the first candle after listing on Binance, and They want to know more about Project Harmony for common people, what it is about.
Sure. So Harmony, well, first of all, I'm really happy to connect with the Russian community, and so thank you for hosting me. And we really want to make it out to Russia at some point and get to know all you guys out there.
I'll interrupt you and translate, okay? So make pauses, okay?
Yeah.
Ник говорит, что он очень рад быть здесь, приветствует все русское комьюнити, все 12 человек. Okay.
So to tell you more about what Harmony is a scalable smart contract platform that will, we hope, unleash the potential for decentralized applications and all of the use cases for blockchain that have been held back by the fundamental limitations of the underlying infrastructure.
Ага, то есть Harmony – это масштабируемая платформа смарт-контрактов, которая должна раскрыть весь потенциал, чего там весь потенциал?
Приложение на блокчейне.
Да, приложение на блокчейне, да.
And the way that we, break through that barrier that's been holding blockchain back is by using proof of stake and sharding. And our unique approach to sharding is called deep sharding. And that is that we think about the bottlenecks in consensus protocols, not just on the software layer, but also in the networking layer, which is how the actual messages are passed over the internet. So that's kind of what allows us to remove a lot of the things that have been slowing blockchain down and making it more expensive. So that way, with a faster and cheaper blockchain, it will be easier. We can have more users and we can provide more functionality so that blockchain can be mass adopted.
Okay, so if I understood you correctly, the main bottleneck is solved by the deep sharding, right?
Yeah.
Ага, то есть как бы Для того, чтобы решить основное вот это вот узкое горло, используется не просто шардинг, а глубокий шардинг. И ты подсказывай мне, потому что он так много говорит, что я забываю иногда.
Вопросы просто смотрю, это люди очень прям
So our audience started to send questions. Is good. So
yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so the first question from us is, what is your main competitor, by your opinion?
That's a good question. I think you can think about it in a number of different ways. In one way, you can think of a technology competitor, other people who are building similar solutions.
Можно, I'll translate. So, можно смотреть на это в двух направлениях. Можно смотреть с технической точки зрения, то есть ребята делают такие же технические штуки, okay?
So there are projects that are doing sharding and proof of stake. Zilliqa is doing sharding. There's also Multivac and Elrond and a few others who are doing sharding. But we feel that our technology is superior to them because of sort of what I was talking about with deep sharding. And there are a few other differentiations, but there's also the adoption side competitors. Because we think that obviously technology is cool, but what matters most in the end is actual adoption. Like how many people are using it, how many D applications are running on the platform. And in that regard, I think you can interrupt if you want to translate.
Ага. И с другой стороны, есть вопрос adoption, потому что это не то, что важнее, но это другой отдельный аспект, который тоже важен, как применяются эти блокчейны. И вот Ник хочет рассказать про этот аспект более подробно. Okay.
And so on the adoption side, I think Ethereum has the most robust developer ecosystem and de-application ecosystem. I think we've seen Tron and EOS do a really good job at trying to drive adoption. So those are sort of the competitors that we see ourselves trying to overtake, build an even larger developer and de-application ecosystem than them. We want to kind of, we kind of want to leapfrog, right? When we come to the table with this new, more advanced technology, we feel we can drive adoption of even existing applications that are in Web 2.0 that want to integrate, blockchain functionality. And that way we can onboard applications already with millions of users rather than building from the applications from scratch, which is sort of how crypto has been built so far.
Окей. Ник говорит, что и EOS, и Tron проделали хорошую работу, но основным конкурентом они считают Ethereum в плане среды для разработки дапок. И они двигаются больше в сторону, Harmony именно двигается в сторону не разработки приложений вот с нуля, а какое-то построение среды, то есть готовых каких-то решений, шаблонов для того, чтобы это все можно было, более простой вход на эту платформу. Типа как adoption больше.
Тогда тут вопрос в тему как раз будет от Степана. Что вы думаете? Мы говорите про adoption и про потенциал использования блокчейна, но при этом реальное использование блокчейна сводится к гэмблингу. В большинстве своем. Все дапсы или большая часть дапсов – это гэмблинг дапсы.
Сейчас это вот это?
Да.
So question from our chat. Do you think it's something weird when we're talking about adoption and huge blockchain use case potential, but the real usage is only gambling dApps at the moment?
So I think that that's kind of been a trend in a lot of other previous technologies. If you look at the internet, it was originally adopted more by sort of shady kinds of use cases. But over time, as it kind of hit the mainstream, it really broke out into something different, right? And I think we're seeing the same stage of adoption.
It's something like gambling is an early birds of blockchain.
Yes, exactly. Those kinds of use cases tend to be early adopters of new technology because they're doing something that's riskier, and so they're willing to kind of try something new. And I think we're at the verge of sort of crossing the threshold into a different era of blockchain where there are actual real use cases. And we're seeing that on the ground with people who want to build on Harmony and partner with us. So, I mean, it's impossible to know when we're really going to hit that inflection point. But I do feel that we're headed there. And we shouldn't be distracted by the fact that, criminals are using blockchain, or gamblers, or, whatever kind of negative use cases we're seeing now. That's actually a good sign. It's the sign that we're on the path and that there's real utility to blockchain.
Окей. Ник говорит, что гэмблинг — это типа такие early адоптеры блокчейна, которые всегда делают что-то на грани, рискованные такие штуки, и они всегда там в интернете тоже, когда появлялся интернет, они тоже были первыми, вот эти серо какие-то мутные штуки, они как бы всегда пробуют что-то новое, и поэтому это хороший знак, что гэмблинг заходит в блокчейн, потому что это значит, что типа за ними пойдут более распространенные какие-то там, другие уже направления. Okay, the next questions from the chat is
где можно найти
which more projects do you plan to cooperate after Chainlink?
So I have to kind of keep that secret because it's all part of our PR campaign.
Marketing strategy.
So I'm not able to release. Yeah, we're not able to release all of that information early.
You can call direction. Which projects?
Yeah. Maybe. So I'll just give a maybe a more broad overview of the kinds of things that we're looking to partner with and adopt. So there's kind of two separate things. One are the actual applications, right? And then the other piece are the pieces of infrastructure that kind of are part of the ecosystem on which the applications are built. So on this side, we're really
с одной стороны, Ник не может сказать точно, какие партнерства, потому что это секрет, это типа часть маркетинговой стратегии, поэтому я попросил его больше в направлениях, типа с кем они планируют партнериться, и они говорят, что два направления – это непосредственно сами дапки и непосредственно компании, которые входят в экосистему разработки этих дапок.
Yeah, so for example, on the infrastructure that helps the ecosystem for the applications, we recently partnered with Anchor, who are building a decentralized computation layer. And that's a really useful feature for our DApp developers to use to run off-chain computation in a trust minimized way. So that's one example. Or another example of this would be an identity system, because a lot of our DApp developers are asking for some sort of identity layer that they can use for the application. Or, Chainlink is also a good example of this, right? And Oracle is sort of another piece of infrastructure that the end developer will use. So that kind of gives you an idea of those kinds of partnerships. We have a few more of those coming. And then on the de-application side, the general trajectory that we're going there is we really feel there are three major use cases that we want to target. The first one is asset trading. So people like tokenizing assets, also there's fungible and non-fungible assets. So tokens and NFTs. The second one is, and these kind of leverage, decentralized decentralized exchanges. We have people who are building the infrastructure here for people to have asset trading. A second use case that we find very promising is gaming, right? And gaming is huge, not just NFTs, but there's so many ways of making interoperability between different gaming platforms to build a larger ecosystem. And the last one, and there's a lot of traction in gaming, and we have a very strong partner there already who's public, which I can mention, which is Animoca. And Animoca is the people, they were involved with CryptoKitties. They're also doing a new game called Sandbox, which is like a Minecraft on the blockchain. And they also did the Formula One auction, which was in the news last week, which was they sold a NFT that represented a little Formula One car. And then the last use case that we find really promising is DeFi, or open finance. And that's applications similar to MakerDAO or Dharma or Compound.
DeFi, you mean decentralized finance?
Yes, decentralized finance. Yeah, we think that is a major new breakout technology for blockchain that is going to be a huge trend for the coming years. And we think that specifically a faster blockchain that's cheaper will enable more innovation in DeFi, because your contracts will... Go ahead.
Okay, I'll try to translate all this information. Так, Ник говорит, мы о чем говорили, о том, что одно из направлений – это экосистема для дапок, и тут у них как бы 3 направления основных. Первое – это все, что касается assets, ну, то есть, как это называется сказать? Активы. Токенизированные активы, да, и все, что касается ну, то есть платформ для обмена, то есть DEX, вот эти вот все обменные штуки. Второе направление – это use cases, ну, то есть это 3 направления основных use cases для Harmony. Это вот токенизированные активы и платформы по их обмену. Второй use case – это гейминг. Вот типа все, что касается такого CryptoKitties и так далее. Там вот Softbox, по-моему, говорил, да, какая-то новая игра, похожая.
На Майнкрафт, да.
Да, на Майнкрафт. И третье направление – это decentralized finance.
Это децентрализованные финансы. У нас стрим по этому поводу был, и будет еще. Это новое перспективное направление. Радует, что большинство блокчейнов идут в этом направлении.
DeFi, да. Вот, кстати, я хотел спросить у ребят в чате, если вам понятно, ну, потому что я смотрю, вопросы в основном на английском задают, если понятен, ну, ответы на английском, то поставьте плюсики, это будет проще прям сильно. Returning to dApps, how do you plan to get dApps developers from Ethereum, EOS,
Tron?
How will you get them to come to Harmony?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, well, first of all, you know, part of our thesis from the beginning is that people are demanding a more scalable and more performant blockchain. So that's oh, sorry. Anyway, a little disturbance. So people are demanding a more. There's some real pain points that we've located with the app developers. One is the finality, the latency. The other is the cost, and the last one is the throughput or scalability, right? And that's why we from the beginning designed Harmony to be to have low latency, meaning your transactions finalized very quickly, to be low cost, meaning that each transaction is very, very cheap, unlike Ethereum or Bitcoin, where you have to pay, you know, sometimes almost 30 cents for a transaction, which is it really knocks out a lot of use cases. And the last one is that it is more scalable, so that you can actually have an application that grows without becoming congesting the network, like what CryptoKitties did. So fundamentally, we feel that by building a better blockchain, that on its own will attract developers and people that want to have a future-proof deapplication. Because even, let's say EOS or Tron, they may be fast enough today, but they're not sharded. They don't actually have the capacity to really scale. So a deapp developer that really wants to make their application future-proof, meaning it's in 2 years, it still can run on the same blockchain infrastructure without having to migrate. They'll choose a platform like Harmony. The second piece is that we have made the blockchain EVM compatible. So it's very, very easy for any application developer who's currently building on Tron or Ethereum to port their deapplication over to Harmony. So we've made the friction, the barrier to entry very low. And the last piece is that we want to find ways of financially supporting DApp developers or incentivizing them to actually bring real usage to the network. So we're looking at a few different ways of incentivizing. We don't feel that hackathons are a very good way of doing it, because hackathons can they bring temporary people to make a sort of demo, but they don't lead to a real application with real developers. And we've already been chatting with many different partners. And so we have already 30 or 40 different partners who have agreed to try out the Harmony blockchain. So we've got a good start to our ecosystem. But as I was saying, we're really targeting those 3 use cases for our initial partners to try to bring those specific use cases onto Harmony.
Окей. Вопрос был о том, как Harmony планирует переманить разработчиков с iOS, с эфира, с трона. И первый пункт просто они делают блокчейн, который лучше, который быстрее, который дешевле, который более масштабируемый. То есть чисто технически они планируют сделать блокчейн, который лучше по техническим характеристикам. По второму плану они делают такой блокчейн, на который просто перейти, то есть он совместим с эфирными дапками, то есть перейти на блокчейн Harmony довольно-таки просто. И третий момент – это финансовая поддержка, хакатоны, различные.
Еще один момент, который ты пропустил, касаемо второго пункта, по поводу iOS и трона, было сказано, что это…
Они быстрые сейчас.
Они быстрые, но у них нет потенциала на вырост из-за того, что у них нет шардинга и все в таком духе. То, что у них нет… На ближайшие 2 года разработчики не будут уверены, что они дальше будут развиваться. То есть у них может не хватить на том же самом блокчейне запустить возможность ту же самую CryptoKitties или какую-то такую же игру, потому что она просто не будет тянуть. Ты можешь спросить по поводу спросить по поводу действительно ли так важен шардинг в блокчейнах, и он действительно поможет решить вопрос масштабируемости?
Шардинг?
Именно сам шардинг, да.
Это оттуда, да?
Нет, это я спрашиваю.
Andrew is asking, can sharding can really solve the problem of scalability?
Yeah, so sharding is the best approach that
for dApps, exactly.
For decentralized applications.
Yes, it can. So I think the great thing about sharding is that it so far it's the best approach that we have to scale blockchains without sacrificing decentralization. So if you look at EOS, they have been able to scale beyond Ethereum, but they sacrifice decentralization by using DPoS. So sharding is sort of the best on the trade-off of the scalability, security, and decentralization trilemma. So when it comes to de-applications, the one thing that sharding still needs to solve, and we're working very hard on, is that so smart contracts and de-applications can run well within one shard, although sometimes if there's too much cross-shard communication between de-applications, that can become complicated. So that's one open problem that sharding still needs to solve, but otherwise, considering the scale of de-applications that we have today, it's more than scalable enough. And you can easily run a very large application within one shard without running into that issue. And I think that by the time we reach that level of scale, where we may reach that upper threshold within one shard, we will hopefully have a solution to that problem.
So if I understood you correctly, sharding solves the scalability problem at this moment for today's level.
Yeah, so I think in every technology, if you look at it like even in wireless technology, right? So we had 3G, and that was good enough to run your old iPhone, and then it's slowly increased to 4G and LTE, and now we're going to 5G, right? And so every time that the infrastructure scales up, then there are applications that come to use what it's capable of providing. And then we hit this upper boundary, right? And then by that time, there's been enough research and development going on to bring it to the next level so we can scale up. So I think that what I'm trying to say is that sharding is this next leap forward. And it will have a few years before we're going to hit this next boundary of what sharding is capable of doing right now. But by then, we will have already come up with the next level, the 5G equivalent, which will enable us to scale to even more transactions and more applications. So that's what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that the sharding technology we currently have isn't everything, but it is a huge step forward, and it paves the path for even more innovation to come.
Они говорят, что, ну, типа, как вот там было 3G, потом 4G, потом 5G, и вот шардинг на данный момент развития технологий, его достаточно для того, чтобы, да, он имеет свои ограничения, но на данный момент его достаточно для того, чтобы обеспечить необходимость в масштабируемости вот на данный момент. То есть там еще есть запас. И то есть когда технология разовьется до следующего шага, то будет еще какое-то решение. But if you understood you correctly, Harmony has 5G at the moment, and it don't have 6G solution at the moment, right?
Yeah,
you have 5G, and it's enough sort of, today.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, I mean, no, there is no sharding protocol who has solved everything, and I think this is sort of just a comment on how technology tends to mature, right? It tends to mature in sort of steps, and what we have at Harmony, we feel, is the next step, and it will be what we need to carry blockchain to the next level of adoption. And we're going to, meanwhile, be working very hard to prepare ourselves for that next wave. Our original mission is open consensus for 10 billion people. So we want our blockchain to be able to support billions of people using it. But you don't get there overnight. It takes many years, to get a technology to that level where it can truly be global. So we are on the path to get there, and our sharding technology is the first major leap forward to get to that path of billions of people using Harmony.
Okay, we have a global question from the chat. How do you see the development of the system of cooperation between blockchains? Will it be some unique, единый, single standard for all the blockchains? What do you think about cooperation between blockchains, connection between blockchains?
I think that interoperability between blockchains is very interesting, and I think it will be useful in the early stages of blockchain, because I think that right now, we have assets like Bitcoin. We have each blockchain right now has a specific use case or has a different type of community or specialty. And so it's useful to have blockchains be able to communicate with each other and interoperate. But in the long term, I'm not convinced that we're going to need to have an internet of blockchains in the way that Cosmos and Polkadot have sort of imagined. It's sort of like they're imagining that each blockchain is like a different website, right? Each website, I build a website that is used to buy shoes, or I build a website that's Facebook. Each website is very unique, right? And that makes sense. But the way the internet grew is that even though the websites are different, the underlying HTTP and TCP/IP protocols are all the same. And so that's kind of, I feel that the layer 1 blockchains are sort of the equivalent of TCP/IP and HTTP. And I think there will be just a handful of major protocols that support most of the websites, right? And the websites are more like the applications built on top of that. And I think it's easier that way when everyone's more unified, because I also think that interoperability will have limitations as to what it's capable of doing. I'm not sure that blockchains communicating with each other will be able to solve all the problems that come along with that and really scale.
Okay, so the website constructors is like blockchains, websites like dApps, and some one single layer as a protocol, HTTP or like that.
Yes, exactly. So.
Okay. Ник говорит, что ему, ну, то есть в ответ на этот вопрос помогает сравнение с интернетом. То есть, ну, как бы как HTTP один протокол, то есть, на котором, короче, ну вы поняли, есть общий протокол, которому подчиняются сайты, да, и это как бы будет какой-то один такой слой, layer. Веб-сайт-конструкторы, на которых строятся разные сайты, это как блокчейны, а сайт это как верхний слой, это типа дапки. И вот они все будут, ну, на каком-то уровне, но каждый будет заниматься чем-то своим. Каждого будет
унифицированный интернет будет, да.
Да, унифицированный интернет блокчейнов, но как бы на поверхности, то есть дапки, они как бы немножко про разное, могут быть про одно, но
они могут быть совершенно разными, это не будет мешать им взаимодействовать между собой при необходимости. И вопрос у меня тогда такой, какое отношение Harmony имеет к этому? Ну, типа, давай ты спросишь, потому что мой английский похож.
Про этот?
Ну, типа, вы типа, как к interoperability относитесь?
What is the Harmony position about this connection between the blockchains? Do you do something on this road, or you wait to do it in the future?
So I think it's something that we're considering, but it's not yet a priority for us. We actually, being in the Bay Area, we have a close connection to the team at Cosmos, and we have talked to them about potentially supporting the interchain protocols that they're building. But it's not, again, it's not a priority for us. Our main priority is to develop mass adoption on Harmony's blockchain. And kind of to go back to this interoperability thing, separate blockchains with an interoperability protocol is actually kind of similar to sharding itself, right? So sharding is about having parallel blockchains that know how to talk to each other and can form one big blockchain. But the advantage of sharding over an interoperability protocol is that in a sharded protocol, these chains, their security models are actually together. So that each chain is actually stronger together. It's one whole. The security is the whole of the network. Whereas in an interoperability protocol, each chain's security is separate from the others. So in some ways, I feel that a sharded protocol will have security benefits as compared to an internet of blockchains.
Okay. Ник говорит, что шардинг протокол, ну, считает, что более защищен, более безопасен и, ну, как бы больше подходит, да, для, ну, чем вот этот интернет блокчейнов. И, ну, вообще вопрос как-то кооперации между блокчейнами у них сейчас не в приоритете, поэтому Андрей, уходи. So the next questions from Степан. Подожди, I have question from Степан.
Как раз вопрос более про шардинг, как раз вот типа. Да, Ромошка это как раз пример нерабочего концепта. Даже такие штуки, как Zilliqa и Quarkchain, они не работают на том уровне, на котором они планировались. Там, напоминаю, что у них основная задача это шардинг. Первым будет Zilliqa, а потом Quarkchain. Вот это. Most of the dApps, нет, вот это. Harmony is
The question from our chat, Lamer. Hey. Harmony is exactly just the set of non-working concepts. Even things like Zilliqa and Quarkchain don't work at the level they was planned. What will you answer?
I couldn't understand the first part. Can you say it again?
The first part is the Harmony is exactly just the set of non-working concepts.
Example, может быть.
Even things like Zilliqa and Quarkchain don't work at the level they planned. I think that it's about
sharding and concepts.
Sharding concept that it's there is written in the white paper and non-working on practice. So what do you think? Will it work or what's the guarantees that it will work as described?
So I think we don't have to theorize about this really. We have a working blockchain right now, so we've already implemented it, and we have a testnet. We have the 5th iteration of our testnet, and we have people joining our foundational node partners who are actually helping to run this new testnet. And we have a D application that we've built, a puzzle application that you guys can go check out, puzzle.harmony.one. Where you can actually play an application that's running on our blockchain. So it's not really in theory, we've actually already built it and it's working in practice. That said, I think it's true that in many cases blockchains need to adapt, and we're ready to adapt to any unforeseen issues with our design. But we've really done an enormous amount of research, and we feel come to a design that is as robust as it can be. And other leaders in the space are kind of all converging on the same design. So even ETH 2.0 has a lot of similarities to what Harmony is building. So I'm not sure where I'm not sure about Zilliqa or Corkchain, if they're running into issues. But I can say for us, what we've built is working in practice already.
Окей. Ник говорит, что не знает, там не будет говорить по поводу Зилики и Коркчейна, но по поводу Гармонии не теоретизирует. Есть работающий блокчейн, который можно... то есть есть дапку, которую они написали, по-моему, puzzle.harmony.one, куда можно зайти поиграть. Рабочий тестнет. Вот, поэтому вопрос для него остался непонятен, неясен. Как говорят эти тестеры, не получилось отобразить баг. The question about the testnet from our chat. In testnet monitoring, the results don't exceed 4 transactions per second. The team claims there are 114,000 transactions per second in the testnet. Where's the truth?
Yeah, so I think people are misinterpreting. What our testnet is right now is not. We're not sending any transactions to the testnet, so we're not doing any throughput testing. The testnet is just about the people connecting to each other and having a real decentralized network that's sharded, that is minting new blocks. And in that case, it's working very well. So the reason that's 4 transactions per second is because no one's sending any transactions. If we were to send transactions, we'd probably see something like 1,000 TPS per shard, and we have 4 shards, so I would assume maybe around 4,000 on our current testnet. And the previous testnet that got 118,000 transactions per second, that was one that we had built specifically to do a throughput test. So we also were sending as many transactions as possible to really saturate the throughput of the network. So I guess people shouldn't get they shouldn't be confused by the fact that our current testnet or whatever they're looking at, I'm not sure what, only has 4 transactions per second. It's because there are only, let's say, a few transactions in every block, because we're not
that's why we're hosting the AMA to answer this question. Ник говорит, что в этом тестнете, который есть сейчас, нет транзакций, потому что он создан не для этого. Он создан был для того, чтобы люди между собой коннектились, чтобы работал шардинг, чтобы минтились новые блоки. Вот этот тестнет, который заявлен, он был создан специально, чтобы проверить нагрузку. Там было прогнано 114 тысяч транзакций. Поэтому тут просто немножко разные понятия, разные задачи тестнета. Вот.
Хорошо, давай я спрошу, ты переведешь. Вернее, я переведу, ты спросишь, как есть. Самые наиболее ценные приложения, наиболее важные сейчас в сети, это приложение DeFi, например, такие как Maker и Leadharma. Им не нужно scalability, им не нужно масштабирование, им нужна безопасность и security вообще. Как у вас security вообще? Потому что для DeFi нужна security, а не скорость. Вот. What's relevant?
So the most valued jobs at the moment in the decentralized finance Maker or Dharma. So they do not need scalability at all. They need security. So what about security in Harmony?
Mm-hmm. So I would also actually kind of...
Addition, what's the point of scalability if your network stops every hour like Neo?
Good question. So I would also actually push back on that a little bit, that they may not need scalability now, right? But first of all, for DeFi, it's all about the ecosystem, right? And so you don't want to be, certainly you can run Maker, at least now at its current scale, on something like Ethereum with only 15 transactions per second. But as you add more DeFi protocols all into this ecosystem, they're each going to take up a chunk of that scalability, right? And eventually, if we're actually trying to target 1 billion people using blockchain, there's no way that it's going to work. And second of all, that's not even taking into consideration the second order sort of things built on top of these lower level DeFi protocols, right? So the end user interfaces, or maybe let's say even decentralized exchanges using the DAI from Maker, or trading different assets that DeFi protocols can mint and create. So I think that it's all about it's all about the network effects, right? And it's the same for DeFi. And if you really want to build a large network with many different applications and allow for secondary trading or different interactions on top of that, you're going to need a lot of throughput. So again, like right now, it may not be that important, but I think in a couple of years, if DeFi is really to go mainstream, it will be extremely important. So maybe you can start there, and I can talk about security after, if you want to just translate that.
Да, сейчас мы остановились, чтобы перевести, и дальше он будет рассказывать именно про security, а тут он говорит о том, что почему не нужна scalability. Нужна, то есть она сейчас не нужна, когда нету такого большого количества дапок, нет такого количества нагрузки там, и так далее. То есть задача построить экосистему, в которой там будет не одно приложение, а тысячи, и будет куча решений, будет куча пользователей, будет DEX, там, и слои. То есть масштабируемость нужна в любом случае. И сейчас, правильно, да? Вот, и сейчас Ник расскажет о том, что с вопросом по security. Okay.
Security.
Yeah, so in terms of security, that's obviously something that's extremely important for every blockchain. Without security, then, how can you actually put value on your chain? And so that's something that we take very seriously. And our approach to security is to have a very secure sharding technology that obviously proof of stake is the base layer of it. So we use proof of stake to make sure that all the validators in the network are real and that they'll behave well. So there's a lot of incentives around that sort of forms a baseline. And then
I'll try to translate. То есть понятно, что безопасность важнейшая штука, без которой невозможно положить какую-то ценность вообще в цепь, в сеть запустить. И начинает он с того, что постпротокол, который помогает просто понять, кто есть кто себя ведет хорошо, кто плохо. Okay? Continue, please.
And aside from proof of stake, which is now becoming a very popular, base layer for security, we do what's called random sharding, so a representative sharding, which is the best way to make sure that the committees within each shard are honest. And we have a specific randomness generation protocol that uses VRFs and VDFs, verifiable random functions, and verifiable delay functions. And the combination of those two together allow us to create a very secure beacon of randomness that no one can bias or corrupt. And that really is the sort of the cornerstone of our security on the sharding layer. So the two of those together, we feel, makes a very secure design for our blockchain.
По поводу безопасности, это комбинация двух систем, как бы рандомный шардинг, да, как можно сказать, и VDF. По поводу VDF, can you tell us more about VDFs? What is this and how it works?
Sure. So a VDF is a verifiable delay function, which is it's a cryptographic primitive that is basically like a little black box where you put an input in and it will take you a certain number of minimum computational steps to get the output. And there's no shortcut to get the output. Once you have the output, it's very easy to verify that it's the correct output. So a VDF is useful because it produces this delay, right? So you know that anything you put into this verifiable delay function will take a certain amount of time before you can get the answer. And so in our specific use case, the way that we use it is that we put in a pre-image, and the output, I should mention, of a VDF is pseudo-random. So it looks like the output of a hash function, for example. So in our case, to generate randomness, we put an input into, we take the VRF inputs and we put them into the VDF, and they're pre-committed on a block before they go into the VDF, and then the final randomness comes out more than one block time later. And what that means is that no one could have known when they were inputting the randomness to the VDF what the final randomness would have been one block later. So that's the way that we use the VDF in our protocol.
Да, ну, там ребята, наверное, которые более технически подкованные, расскажут потом, в чем суть. Ну, короче, типа black box, в котором есть input и output. VDF – это verify delay functions. Вот. И именно штука в том, что происходит delay, да? Ну, типа, это ожидание. Вот, и комбинация именно вот этого вот рандома и delay, ну, типа как хэш работает. Ну, типа ты туда в черную коробку, в этот black box засовываешь, оно там что-то делает и выдает. I have a question about VDFs from our community. When will you start using VDFs? Who will provide altruistic nodes running on ASICs to compute VDFs? And what will motivate the owners of these nodes?
That's a really good question. So we're already using VDFs, but the kind of VDF, for now, we're using a VDF that, for our knowledge, there are no ASICs. There are some people who are building open source ASICs for this exact reason, and probably when those are ready, it will probably take a few years before those are actually ready. When they are, then
and who built open source ASICs?
So the Ethereum Foundation is funding a whole program around this. We've spoken to them about participating in this whole sort of endeavor, and we think it will be very useful for the whole ecosystem, because VDFs are going to be a very useful cryptographic primitive. But the thing is that it's actually going to take a long time to build and design and verify these ASICs. In the meantime, we can use a VDF as long as the delay is longer than one block time, we will be secure. So it's pretty easy for us to just make a VDF that's long enough where even if someone had some sort of ASIC design that could crack it, it wouldn't be fast enough. to really shorten the output time to less than 1 block. So we still feel that we are secure even before the ASICs are completely ready.
Говорит, что VDF уже работают, и на данный момент они чувствуют себя довольно-таки защищенными, и даже как бы до того, как появятся ASIC, а ASIC вот эти вот, которые open source, занимаются Ethereum Foundation созданием, потому что они типа должны помочь инфраструктуре. Okay, I have more technical questions.
By the way, I just want to say I'm really impressed by the community, how technical they are, and how good the questions have been so far. It's really awesome. This is a really great AMA.
Yeah, thank you. It's the it's the key point of Russian community, because there are a lot of former engineers and IT specialists, so they do have a lot of knowledge in these specific technical things. Because I'm more about marketing, and all these technical things are complicated, but we have questions and I can read them. Okay, how do you verify whether a transaction in a shard is incorrect?
So it's the same way that any blockchain verifies that the transaction is correct or incorrect. There's sort of a state transition function, right? And if or rather, I mean, it depends what you're talking about. An invalid block is one that violates the state transition function given the input transactions. An invalid transaction is just one that doesn't actually have enough money to spend that it claims it does, or doesn't have a valid signature. So I'm not sure which one necessarily they're asking about, but it's the same as within any other normal blockchain that's non-sharded. But maybe they're also asking about the cross-shard transactions, how you validate that transaction coming from one shard to another is valid. And that's
the next question is how did you solve the problem of trust and inter-shard transaction verification? So maybe
perfect.
Connected.
Exactly. Yeah, they're very connected. So within one shard is pretty simple, as I just explained. But the cross shard becomes a little more complicated, but it's also not as difficult as you might think. Whenever a cross shard transaction is created, what happens is the wherever those funds or that state is located, whichever shard that's in first, that shard signs a lock transaction where it takes those funds or whatever and locks them, and then creates a little sort of receipt that it sends to the next shard. And then the next shard where those funds are trying to be transferred to takes that receipt or that proof of lock and validates that, okay, yes, the funds have been locked in this shard. Those guys have all signed it. And I'm okay now to create these funds or this state here, so it's not duplicated. So that's the way that cross-shard transactions work. It's sort of like a two-step process where the funds are locked and then they're recreated in the next place where the new shard verifies that indeed the lock has happened.
Да, то есть по первому вопросу, как подтвердить, что транзакция в шарде incorrect, невалидная там или как еще назвать, то есть там как в любом, как и везде. Вот. А что касается кросс-шардинга, то здесь происходят два этапа, то есть транзакция размещается в шарде, подписывается и локается, затем передается в следующий шард, оно говорит, окей, я подтверждаю, что оно там было залокано, и пересоздает, recreates и подписывает заново. В общем, как-то так. Так. Oh, questions about profits. Great. So the tokens of the Harmony are utility tokens, and they used for working nodes, staking, and transaction fees. So, which your forecast about the profits for staking per year, maybe in percents, 15% per year for staking, or
So I can't,
because part of Russian community is about technical and difficult things, and another part of community about profits and money.
And also question, if you're forecasting the profits, will you have some problems with Security Exchange Commission in USA? Because this is a kind of security token.
Это же utility, чего?
Yeah, exactly. So I actually can't make any for that exactly that reasons, for compliance reasons. I can't talk about profit or expected return. I can say that we're targeting, at least now in our current models, about 6% of total network inflation every year. So
sorry, how many?
That's
6%.
So we will be increasing the total supply. The amount of block rewards we're giving out each year is 6% of the total supply. So that's the rate of inflation that we're targeting year over year. But I think that in the end goal, we want people to, staking is going to be profitable or not profitable. The value of staking is not just through the block rewards, but also through the transaction rewards. And we think that as the Harmony network grows, right, we'll need more and more validators, and there'll be more and more room for people to collect transaction fees. So the idea is that as adoption grows, each validator can collect more fees, or rather, the amount of tokens that you have will be able to run more validators, and each one of those validators collects the same amount of fees. Does that make sense? So that's kind of the way that we see the token deriving value in the future, or increasing in value, is with Harmony's adoption. The Harmony token becomes more valuable, not just because people are using it to use the network, but also because each validator, each token represents more ability to validate the network. Does that make sense?
Can you please repeat how many percents per year? 6%?
So I want to make sure that this is not, I'm not talking about a return. I'm talking about the inflation of our token table yearly. And this is also just a model. So this has not been set in stone, but this is what we've currently been modeling. It's very similar to the inflation rates of networks like Tezos, for example.
So how many percent?
6% will be the inflation year over year.
All right, with transaction fees, or this is just inflation, and
this is not talking about any profit or reward or anything. This is strictly the amount of inflation of the token table.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is also just what we're currently looking at, but it's not set in stone.
Mm-hmm. All right. Ник сказал, что он не может говорить ни о каких бизнес-моделях или финансовых моделях.
Или обещание заработка.
Да, обещание заработка, потому что это будет подпадать как security, как акция, поэтому они не могут это говорить. И, значит, получается, они говорят, что по текущим их моделям получается приблизительно 6% годовых в инфляции, как, к примеру, в Тезосе. И плюс будут еще transaction fee, оплата комиссии, которую будут получать пользователи, и чем больше будет сеть расти, тем больше нужно будет валидаторов, чтобы подтверждать транзакции, которые тоже будут получать профит, как инфляцию, которая будет равномерно делиться на всех валидаторов, плюс и transaction fee. Вот как-то так. То есть, но это не является инвестиционными советами, либо финансовыми, либо еще какими-то штуками, потому что это нельзя потому что токен – utility токен. Вот и все. Как-то так сказал.
Yeah. Are you ready for more technical questions?
Вот этот просит. If not, about sharding.
Sure.
Sharding. If a node has to store the data of many shards and constantly synchronize with other shards, can we call it a complete sharding? What will you do if there is a problem with communicating the master node? And isn't that a vulnerability to a 1% shard attack?
So each shard only looks after the state in its own shard. So they don't have to know what's happening on other shards. They just have to be able to trust that when they get a cross-shard transaction that they can verify it and make sure that it's valid. So it is true state sharding. And then what was the other part of the question? It was also asking, the 1% attack.
Yeah. What will you do if there is a problem with communicating the master node? And isn't that a vulnerability to 1% shard attack?
So there are no master nodes in Harmony. Every node is equal. So maybe he's talking about the beacon chain. Like if there's a trouble chatting with the beacon chain, maybe that's what he's referring to. I'm not sure. But we have a very robust P2P networking layer that uses fountain coding to be even more robust against people trying to do network level attacks on our blockchain. So we feel pretty confident that it'll be difficult for any adversary to really partition our network. The other, so maybe that answers part of that question. The other aspect is the, what was he asking? Can you repeat the last part of the question? Oh, 1% attack. That's right. 1% attack.
Isn't that a vulnerability to 1% shard attack?
Mm-hmm. Not, at least in the way that I understand what he's asking, it's not a vulnerability to the 1% shard attack, but that is a very good question for people to ask, and that goes back to our whole original security model, right? By having this decentralized randomness that we're talking about with the VRF and VDF, it's very hard for someone to corrupt a single shard because the sharding happens randomly. So in order to corrupt a single shard, you need to corrupt all the shards. That said, there's also the issue of an adaptive adversary. An adaptive adversary can target a particular shard and try to corrupt just the people in that shard with bribes or something. So we also do shard recirculation. So members of a shard validators are constantly recirculating so that people can't corrupt them.
Okay. Тони, я пытаюсь ответить, что глобальный ответ не считает, что это может быть
предпосылка для атаки 1%.
Да, типа, как это, vulnerability, короче, узкое место, опасное, короче. Вот, потому что шарды друг друга не знают, есть эффект рандомности, то есть для того, чтобы какую-то конкретную шарду, они их все время, мешают, рециркулируют. И он вернулся к вопросу про VDF и вот эти вот, которые randomized. Вот, то есть вся эта система построена таким образом, что невозможно там конкретную шарду какую-то там взять и атаковать.
И нет необходимости синхронизировать шарды с мастернодой, потому что каждый шард equal, равный. Типа они все равны, и нет шардов, которые больше, которые, типа мастернод. Короче, нет мастернод, все шарды равны, все узлы сети. Вот. А тут вопрос юридического характера.
We have not only IT specialists, but we have legal people. So they ask, is Harmony registered in Panama or USA? And can we get a link to Harmony in the register?
So I think, I don't want to talk too much about our legal structuring, but let's suffice to say that we have a legal structuring that is, we have really worked a lot with some of the top lawyers in the space to make sure that we'll be compliant and that we're structured in a way that will last us in the long term. And other than that, we don't like to be extremely public about that structure. So I'm just going to have to avoid that question for now.
Okay. Говорит, что работают с топовыми юристами, но не хотят быть публичными, поэтому данная информация закрыта для всех.
Да, юридически просто продолжать не будем.
Да, так, есть технический вопрос. Another technical question. What is the structure of shard accounts? Is it a single account, a number of separate accounts, or several combined accounts like side chains?
I'm trying to, so they're saying that if I'm a user, do I have one account across all shards or multiple? That's what I'm guessing they're asking.
Yeah,
so basically, you will need to have a different account for each shard if you want to use, yeah.
Так, нужно отдельный аккаунт для каждой шарды, короче. In the case of blocking, how does the system conduct parallel processing of the transactions between shards from the same account? If we talk about the previous question, so you can have different shard in one account, right? So you need several accounts for each shard.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Да, этот вопрос, получается, не актуальный, потому что на предыдущем вопросе Ник ответил, что для каждой шарды нужно отдельный аккаунт. Так.
Что здесь ищешь?
It was a question about the name of the one token. What's the story for the name one? Because we know project like OneCoin. Is it connected to Harmony, or just what's the story behind the one?
So from the very beginning, you know, if you think about Harmony, what Harmony means, it means oneness. You know, it means a connection, and there's a lot of sort of similarities between Harmony and One, and that's also why our website from the beginning was harmony.one. So for us, the one as our token is sort of this, it's a representation of what, you know, what we stand for. And there's no connection to any other project that has a one token. It's just about sort of, you know, we want to unify the world. We want people to connect with each other through blockchain. And so that's why one is about, you know, bringing the world as one.
I guess it's somehow connected with the fact that you're a certified instructor of yoga, and then Harmony Bell, right?
Yeah, that might be part of it, definitely. You can also look on our website. There's a link, harmony.one/y1. I can send it to you later, where it's just where Steven put a little explainer about why we use one as our token.
Окей. Ник говорит, что не связано это с проектом one.coin, или без точки. OneCoin, да.
Это замечательнейшая пирамида.
Да, то есть связано, ну, типа, гармония и единство один, ну, то есть это такие взаимосвязанные понятия, они хотят объединять весь мир, adoption, то есть куча таких красивых слов. Вот, и я спросил о том, что может связано быть с тем, что Ник сертифицированный инструктор по йоге, ну, у них же это вся там, гармония, единство, то...
Ник засмеялся и сказал, да, возможно.
Да, я думаю, что ребята уже понимают. Так, подожди.
Не нашли.
Так, сейчас. Yeah, I have one question. How are you going to use Quick? No, QUIC, and update its code base. Do you know what is?
Yeah,
Quick?
so Quick is a protocol that is an alternative to TCP/IP. It's UDP, which is a datagram protocol. So it's a different way of sort of structuring and passing packets on the open internet. And so quick is UDP. The advantage of UDP is you can do a lot more packets in parallel, and there's sort of less. You can do multi-threading easier. But the problem is that UDP also has this problem of dropped packets, and it's hard to recover if certain packets are lost. So what Quick is an adaptation of UDP that actually makes it more robust, and it was developed by Google. So it's very useful in a blockchain context where you're passing a lot of messages between lots of different peers, and trying to go for fast, low latency. And so it's useful in our context for that reason. We currently are not implementing it, but we will implement it in the future, because although Quick is very useful, there were some lower hanging fruits that we wanted to knock out first before implementing Quick. So,
but after all, the server side of Quick uses a poll, meaning that you can only synchronize blocks on Linux. Is it right? Oh.
That I'm not familiar with. Yeah, I wouldn't think so, but I don't know.
Okay, so we will go to the end of the AMA. It was very interesting. Thanks for coming. Sorry if our English is not as good as our
not at all. Not at all. You guys are amazing. Honestly, again, tell them that I love the questions. I felt that the level of technical sophistication was the highest that I've experienced so far, and even actually the questions about adoption and how Harmony will really, what our go-to-market strategy was very sophisticated. So I'm really impressed by the community, the level of thinking, and I've also just really enjoyed, connecting with the Russian audience, because we're quite far away from you guys, but we really want to be, build a presence and let you guys know how much we care about, you guys being involved in what we're doing.
Okay, thanks. Ник говорит, что, вернее, мы говорим, что спасибо, что пришел. Сори, что наш уровень английского не так же хорош, как наши футболки. Вот. И Ник говорит, что он удивлен, поражен уровнем технической подкованности, не моей, конечно, а ребят, которые задавали вопросы. Очень крутое комьюнити, очень интересные вопросы и по adoption, и по технической части. Это самый высокий уровень из тех, которые вообще там были на АМА когда-то у него. Вот. Что там было еще вопрос по йоге, да?
Да, и
we have one more question.
Один из самых техничных ребят наш спрашивал.
One of the author of all the technical questions ask about which
yoga exercises.
Which yoga exercise can you advise to us to keep fit?
I think the most basic and simple yoga exercise that anyone can do, and it's really useful, is called the sun salutation. It's a very simple sequence where you start in a standing position and you raise your hands above your head, and then you bend forward and you go into a flat, exactly, and then you go flat and you do upward dog. It's a really good way to sort of stretch out your body, especially in the morning. That's why it's called
like
sun salutation.
Hello sun or something like that.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And so that's a really good thing to do when you first wake up.
I was one time on yoga, one and the last time.
So yeah, I recommend you guys do all of that. And yeah, yoga is a really great practice because it really calms the mind, and it also purifies the body and kind of keeps you limber and keeps you feeling flexible. So it enables you to also be more productive and have a clearer mind. So when you're thinking about all this complicated stuff like blockchain, you can be more effective.
It's like a one price after listing. So it's first high, then you go back, and then It's like a
yeah. Yeah.
You can create an exercise and call it Binance listing.
Binance listing. First candle, then go down, then try to go up. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your answers. Thank you for your scalability and какие еще там слова умные есть. Okay, thank you for coming. I'll tell it in Russian. Мы выберем лучший вопрос за стрим и подарим одну BNBшку от нас и одну футболку от ребят. И еще зададим один вопрос на стриме, а вам нужно будет ответить на эти вопросы в комментах. Из этих комментов мы рандомом из правильных ответов выберем 3 ответа и дадим по BNBшке и по футболке Harmony. А вопрос будет какой?
Ваш вопрос.
А вопрос будет такой.
Guys, if you think maybe Nick can leave us, so you say hello, but Nick is waiting for your last word, but
I'll tell you, but at the moment we telling people that we will give one prize from us, BNB, and one prize from you. It's T-shirt for the best question on this AMA session. And we will ask you after the session will close, which is the best on your opinion. And now we're trying to ask one question, and our subscribers will answer in comments below the video, and we will give 3 more prizes to them. So you can ask something about Harmony, and they will answer.
It might be better than we are.
Yeah.
Create a question.
Ask any question about Harmony, and people will answer in comments and get prizes.
Okay,
from us.
Sure. So first question is, what is the name for Harmony's unique approach to sharding?
What is the name of Harmony unique approach to sharding? Choose.
And then the second question is, let's see, is Harmony proof of work or proof of stake? That's pretty simple. And I'm trying to think of a third one. How many Google engineers do we have on our team?
Окей. Значит, 3 вопроса. Как называется подход Harmony к шардингу? Proof of stake или proof of work? И сколько инженеров Гугла работает в Harmony? Тем, кто ответит на все 3 вопроса в комментах, мы будем рандомом выбирать и выберем 3 победителей.
Еще нужно подписаться на русскоязычный чат Harmony.
Да, еще нужно обязательно подписаться на русскоязычный чат Harmony. Мы сбросим его тоже в комменте. Вот, так что всем пока. We finish the translation and in